Welcome to the Blonde Runner podcast with Coach Laura Erickson, where she shares her healthy living tips as a running and triathlon coach and mother of 4.
Friends, so I wanted to cover the pros and cons of treadmill running. I know this is a big thing, especially right now. This is the middle of winter in northern Utah. We have heaps of snow, and so often a lot of people do go indoors on the treadmill. So I wanted to go through the pros and cons of treadmill running with you. I will be covering this content is on my website at blonderunner.com. You can just search it and find this blog post. So if you want to review it, that's a great place to go. So I think treadmills can be really useful. They can offer more cushioning. They have a little more give than concrete or asphalt surfaces. This is helpful for those that are recovering from an injury or those that are prone to plantar fasciitis or other elements. So that's a good bonus. In the winter, obviously, ice, snow, and it can slow your pace. You don't get the turnover that you would get. So running on the indoor treadmill will help with that. Also, when you're running outside in the snow, you have more risk of slipping and falling. So naturally, though, if those are your concerns, treadmill is a good option. Treadmills often offer safety from the traffic. So if you have to run late at night or early in the morning or when it's dark outside, treadmill could be a good option there. Often if there's poor air quality outside or you have a lot of allergies, that might be a good option to do an indoor run on the treadmill. I know as a mother, I have friends with young children that choose to run on the treadmill because they can do it even when they have little kids at home. So it can be really convenient. I know that's so helpful for a lot of people. Another thing I like to do when I'm running on the treadmill, often I will run in my compression socks without shoes. That way I have to practice that running form, good running form, because you want to be light on your feet. So that will help improve my soft landing on my midfoot, also builds ankle strength. So I don't necessarily run the entire run without my shoes, but I think that can be really helpful if you're trying to improve your running form. One thing I like to do also, if you just want to get on the treadmill and put it on a workout, a lot of times they have programmed workouts. You just zone out and do whatever it's having you do. And that's kind of nice, just that's your only job is to keep that pacing. Another thing is you can do, a lot of people call it kind of the hamster wheel, and you kind of feel like that, and some people that's a struggle mentally, and so it helps you learn how to deal with either the boredom of it, or you can also work on specific aspects of your form. Maybe you're working on cadence, so you can get that thing going fast and try to maintain a faster cadence. That's a really good thing. Another good thing with treadmill running, especially if you have a problem with this, is there's a bathroom close by. So, or if you just got back from an injury, you can get off if you need to. And I think that's really helpful for a lot of people. But I will say sometimes it's easier to give up when you're running on a treadmill because you can stop. So that's, I guess, a con of having a treadmill. Another thing, when you run, we're going to kind of go into I'm going to kind of mix in some cons here with the treadmill. Sometimes when you're running outside, what's nice is if you're 2 miles from home, you have to run back home. So sometimes that's a good thing, actually. Plus you get the sunshine, things like that's really nice for outdoor running. I know other people, when they run on the treadmill, they can listen to podcasts. I do that when I'm on my indoor bike, or they'll listen to audiobooks or read or watch movies or something, so they can actually get more mileage because their mind is distracted. So that can be another pro to using treadmills. So let's go into the cons. I know I mentioned some of the outside benefits to running. And one thing I always like to tell people is there are very few races done on a treadmill. So it is important that you mimic running conditions as much as you can. However, a lot of races aren't in the winter. I'm not a huge fan of cold weather racing just because it takes so long to warm up. But so winter is a good time to maybe incorporate that. If you do treadmill running indoor, you need to make sure when you start going outside in the spring that you adapt your mileage. I would reduce your mileage about 10% for a little while for your body to adjust, because running on the treadmill is different. You do run differently on the treadmill. So let's talk about the cons of treadmill running. like I said, number one thing for me, and I don't mind running outdoor all year, is I like to see things moving past me. I like the scenery. I'm a nature girl. I'm an outdoor girl. I like the sunshine. So that's a plus of running outside, of course. I'm not a huge fan of the cold, but because you can get all the gear that you need, you can really, there really is no such thing as bad weather anymore. It's just bad gear. And I'm sure you've heard that before. So making sure you have the right kind of gear matters a lot. And running in layers really helps. And running indoors, I like to call it sweating buckets. I'm just drenched. And you can actually get dehydrated quicker inside because you sweat so much, because you don't have the wind or the air moving on you to cool you. And so oftentimes I'll get sweat in my eyes and stuff when I'm indoor on the treadmill. And so outside I don't really have that concern. I always wear visors or hats or things like that often help soak up any of that sweat as well. It's interesting, even when you run outside in the cold, how you can get pretty warm actually. So I think if you are running indoor, I would suggest that you use a fan to cool you down. And I think a lot of people put the fan on their face, which is helpful. However, a lot of times it will make your eyes water, and then you'll tear through your lacrimal ducts, and then it'll make your nose run. So I actually suggest that you put the fan behind you and fan your back, and that actually cools you a lot better. So if you're doing that, I think that's important. Another thing is, I guess some of the cons of treadmill running are you get the people watching thing at the gym that happens where everybody's, I don't know about you, but I've had somebody, get on the treadmill by me, and then they look at what I'm doing, and then they try to match what I'm doing, and pretty soon it's like it's a race or something, it's often quite entertaining. But sometimes you don't have to worry about that when you're running outside, or maybe if you have a treadmill at home, you don't have to worry about that as much. And maybe if you like that kind of competition, then that's totally fine too. For me, inside or outside, I do listen to music. I don't usually use earbuds. I will just listen to the music aloud, unless if I'm doing a treadmill at the gym, I will of course use my earbuds. So that's just a bonus to running, period, as music. I think that really helps you for me, it's very methodic, and it helps me through my day and makes me want to dance, and it just lifts my spirit. So I think music is a bonus to either indoor or outdoor. But I think make sure if you're running outdoor, I just turn up my phone. I don't even have to use this, or I have a 39-gram speaker that's really awesome, but I don't you want to make sure you can hear that ambient. You want to hear the noise around you. So I think earbuds you have to be careful, because you want to be able to hear things around you. It's fun. It's fun to run in the snow, by the way. So if you haven't run in the snow, I highly encourage it. And it's fun to see other people out there and say hi and all that stuff. So, I think I do a mix of both. So there's benefits to treadmill running. There's also, benefits to running outside. And you kind of feel like you're out there crazy and determined. And I've run in blizzards before, and it's yeah, I am dedicated to this. And so you don't have to worry about when you're on the treadmill, you don't have to worry about the less visibility things. If you've ever been in a blizzard, sometimes the visibility can be a little scary. So make sure you're where you need to be. Nowadays, you can certainly go on the trails as well. So if you're looking for more cushioning, that's a good place to be. Just make sure that you have crampons. And I actually teach a winter running class every year in my area at the local gym. So if you're interested in that, hit me up and I'll tell you about that. But I do go through what to wear outside, all that stuff, so that you can have that option. Some people are new to running, they're not sure, and they're worried about slipping, and there's some things that can help so you don't have those risks. Like I mentioned earlier, this is something I want to make sure I emphasize is treadmill running is different. It isn't running the same as you run outside. And some people will say treadmill running is harder. Some people will say treadmill running is easier. And I would think it's just different. That belt moves your leg back rather than you pulling it back. And so sometimes if you have muscular imbalance, you can exacerbate an injury or a problem sometimes if you're running too much treadmill. I know some professional athletes that they run treadmill all the time and they're fine. And I think that you just have to, they also do a lot of other strengthening and stuff. So I think you just have to understand that it will change your running a little bit, but it also, if you have some of those strengthening things that you do outside of it, it helps. I do have a core strength routine that really helps with running and triathletes. It's really good for both. On my Instagram, you can find it at Coach Laura Erickson, and it's Lora, and it's pinned. So it's right at the top if you're kind of wondering how you can get that strength in the hips. That is a good thing to include if you're doing a lot of treadmill running or outdoor running. Honestly, it's just something you need. It helps build those stabilizing muscles. Let's see. I do want to mention that, and I mentioned this at the beginning, is if you did get injured, treadmill is a really good option. And elliptical is another good option because it mimics running without the jarring of running. With elliptical, that will help if you're a beginner runner. That kind of eases you in, and it's a very similar movement. And if you're on a training program and you're just not able to keep those miles running wise, then elliptical can be a good option for you. So think about that. One of the things I do want to mention when it comes to treadmills is often the numbers aren't as reflective as, like, if you run outside and you've got a GPS, it may give you certain numbers. And when you do you set your Garmin or something to indoor run, you may not have as accurate of numbers. So oftentimes what I do is I'll take a screenshot. I'll take a picture of what the treadmill is telling me I did, or elliptical E1, and then I'll also, see what my watch is saying, and I kind of split the difference. So it's going to be a ballpark idea. You'll also see, and this sort of drives people nuts too, is the treadmills are different. I would suggest trying to run on the same treadmill, especially if you're trying to do some comparative data and you're trying to improve. Definitely try to use the same machine. A thing that is also a little tricky with treadmills is sometimes you just feel like the numbers are staring you in the face and it goes really slow. It's like trying to watch a pot boil, right? You watch it and it just goes really slow. And so there's kind of that boredom that happens, or it just seems to go slow on a treadmill. That's when I think the music can be helpful, or that's when I think those are the people that call it a treadmill, right? But there also is a benefit to watching those numbers and trying to improve those numbers and focusing on things. So it can go either way. You can use it as a stumbling block or a stepping stone, you decide. So it can be very distracting too. I know I do a lot of counting when I'm running, and I try not to look at the numbers until maybe I'll run and I'm trying to guess how far I've went, and then I'll look periodically. Like I'm trying to get a mile in, let's see how long it takes, and when I think it's a mile, kind of play those games, and that's kind of fun. Most of the time, I will say on our gym treadmills, another thing, I guess, con of treadmill running is sometimes it gives you only 40 minutes and then it automatically starts a 5-minute cool down, which is sort of annoying because I may be at a certain pace that I'm trying to go, and then I have to stop and start and get off and on, or if there's somebody waiting, sometimes that's a limiter too. But I will say you can be creative, and sometimes I've done a warm-up inside on a treadmill because it's cold outside or whatever, and then I run outside, and then I finish on a treadmill. I've done that before, so you can certainly, do some variety. I think that's really important for your body too to do, and then it's good for your mind as well. So yes, I think for the most part, getting a variety of either one is good. Just, I think, understanding the benefits of both, of doing indoor and outdoor and doing a little bit of everything is really good health-wise. So just those are some things to consider. If you have any other things you want me to cover, or if you have anything to add to this, or if something I was missing, please message me. I'm happy to do other videos that are helpful for you. I hope this was helpful. And until next time, live well. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. Be sure and check the show notes for resources or links that we mentioned in the show. You can also find them on my website at blonderunner.com. BLONDERUNNER.com. You can also find me on Instagram at theblonderunner with an E, and Coach Laura Erickson, and that's LORA. Before you forget, I hope that you will follow this podcast and like it so you don't miss an episode. Also, it really helps if you leave a review so other people can find it, and share it with your friends. Until next time, live well.